Dion Blumenrader with Big Hoss One Sauce, and you're listening to the best show on all things barbecue with my man, Greg Rempe.
Start the game! Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the Really Big Barbecue Central Show. This is a show that talks about all things important in the world of barbecue and grilling, originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city of Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here for your Tuesday night's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you want to jump in tonight, nobody ever wants to jump in on the phone calls, but if you want to jump in on the phone calls or the emails, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by calling 216-220-0966. Email Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. On the Twitter and Instagrams at BBQ Central Show.
Everything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you can get the newsletter, which is where you can also sign up for that if you aren't already at the main website. Among sponsorship opportunities and sponsor links and history of the show and full extensive archives of the show, the main website, the clearinghouse for everything. So while I would love for you to subscribe to the podcast through your various platforms, if you have any questions about anything, always go to the main website and go from there. In about 12 minutes from now, it is the third Tuesday of the month, if you can believe it or not, 2021 rapidly coming to a close, and we will be joined by regular third Tuesday of the month guest, the creator of BarbecueBible.com, the host of Project Fire, formerly Project Smoke. He is a live fire cooking class instructor at Barbecue University, which we will also be talking about. You know him, you love him. It's Stephen Reichlin joining us as always. 35 past the hour. First timer to the show. He is a barbecue historian. He has written no less than 2 books on barbecue history. One was so prolific, and things have changed so much in the last 10 years. That he went back and revised a huge book of barbecue. That, of course, Robert Moss, first-timer to the show, will be joining us at 9:35. And for those of you who have not caught Robert on other shows or read his writings at robertfmoss.com, you can check him out right here on this show for your first time this evening with a little background about him and his introduction and history with the live fire industry, and we'll talk about writing and journalism. We'll talk about that book, and then we'll get into some general barbecue topics, not the least of which would be what 2 or 3 things have changed or have been the biggest changes causing that rewrite of the book. So stay tuned for 35 past, a first-time visit with Robert Moss, and probably won't be the last-time visit. Then we'll move to the second hour. I'll tell you, while I've had this first hour booked for weeks on end, I also had the second hour booked weeks on end. And then overnight, and I have no idea if this is holding true as to why this happened, the second hour took a large dump, and that was it. So quickly throwing out lines to see who could make it. And stepping up to fill the void, none other than Weber's pitmaster and grillmaster, Kevin Coleman will be joining us from Weber Grills. The last week, Meathead and I talked about Weber's latest introduction with their smart grill technology or connected grill technology, both on the Genesis and Spirit line. That will make its way into conversation. We'll talk smoke fire. We'll talk about a rebrand on the Summit Charcoal Grill as well. You might find that interesting. Bunch of stuff. Plus, there's a travel grill that might be introduced later in the year. So Kevin Coleman will help us round out this show. Your phone calls and emails as well, 216-220-0966, or Greg at the BBQCentralShow.com. You can follow me socially if you don't already. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and the snaps at BBQ Central Show. Facebook and Twitch have a live video stream. You can find me there on those respective websites, /BBQ Central Show. Video stream also on the tubes, /RD Rempe. Listener feedback. Oh, and there was a bunch of it on the interview with Mo Kason's second hour of last week. So if you're just joining me for the first time ever and you're a fan or non-fan of Mo Kason, then you will want to, after the show, go find the audio or video archives of the show from last week and go into the second hour where you will find a visit, 2-segment visit, by the way, from Mo Kason. Here is a smattering of reaction, and I'll sit here and tell you that over the course of the week and through hundreds of emails and social media direct messages and non-direct messages, by and large, running 50-50. The lead up to the interview with Mo, anticipation running 50-50. So after the fact or post-interview, it was both heartening and a little shocking that we ran 50-50 on the feedback. For instance, Dennis in Colorado loved Mo. Had a chance to meet the man 2 summers ago at the Denver Barbecue Festival. Made awesome Q. Really enjoyed his baked beans as well. But really, chewing ice on a mic? May have a sip of water instead next time. What are you talking about? Was there ice chewing going on? Leonard in New York wrote, "Hi, Greg. If it needed to be proven again, this week's show is all the proof needed as to why you are the greatest of all time. The Mo Kason interview was exceptional. I had the honor of meeting Mo a couple of years ago at the Barbecue Guru's Monolith Monster Fest at their headquarters in Warminster, Pennsylvania. He is exactly as he said, a really nice, down-to-earth guy, just funny / odd takeaway. Mo is a loud ice eater." Indeed. Steve in Tennessee writes, "The Mo Kason segment was one of your best ever, Greg. So typical, say something stupid and blame it on the reporter. You let him talk and just kept shoveling the dirt on his own grave. Regards, Steve." Ron Happ jumped in. "I'm a humble guy. Munch, munch, crunch, crunch. If I say your food is raggedy, then it's raggedy. I know what good food is. I cook great food." Justin McCabe wrote in, "So after listening to the ice chomping, what I gathered is his restaurant, in quotes, will be nothing more than a famous Moe's, since he will have no involvement in the actual operation. A lot of talk about how he would operate a restaurant and wouldn't pull a single piece of meat from the cooker until done. Yet he won't actually be around to share his cooking methods. He's nothing more than a name for this project." Justin, I would recommend that you go back and re-listen. He did say that he was going to be in the restaurant. He was going to be giving his methods. He was going to be implementing processes. But, of course, it would be on the day-to-day folks to make sure that they're implemented when he is not there. He also did not specify how often he would be there. But let's make sure that we understand that as correct first. Eric Watts also jumped in. Basically, I picked up 2 main things from this conversation. Number one, Mo states everything in this article as he said to be 100%. Then says he'd never read the article himself. Number 2, he's a humble guy, and then proceeds to talk about 10 minutes for how great he is. I'm fairly new to barbecue, but from a business standpoint, I don't see this lasting long. Dennis McKeelson also weighed in. Having hung out with him in person, he puts on no airs. After he taught his class, he sat down on a cooler and was just a normal guy. He definitely has a special place in his heart for veterans. Vincent Eck also jumped in. I don't know if I'm saying your last name right, Vincent, so I apologize if I'm not. Having been listening to him, the man sounds passionate about what he does and wants perfection. Isn't that what we all strive for? Corey Gardner also wrote in, he's a friendly face is all. I know him personally. He sold out years ago. I was 16 and destroying him every damn weekend. He's a mediocre cook at best. Larry Durden with the final weigh-in as we go to the first break and get ready for Steven Reichlin. Greg, thank you for that interview. It was entertaining. There you go. So, as you see it, a 50-50 split, more or less, on the Mo Cason interview. A lot of you pointing out the ice chomping. I get it. Some of you saying, hey, this is Mo. This is who he is. I'm down with the brand. I'm down with him. Let's stick with it. Others saying, I'm not down with what he did. Everybody's got an opinion, as Mo said. His opinion. I will give you my take at the top of the second hour. Steven Reichlin is ready to go, so stand by. I'll talk to you quickly about Green Mountain Grills, some of the best pellet cookers out there on the market today, and my words only, getting jobbed right now in the barbecue world in legal ease. We don't like that. Come on now. In the meantime, you still have a choice line of Green Mountain Grills to choose from. You also have a prime line of Green Mountain Grills to choose from. You also have a Prime Plus if you want. Now, if you're like me, you don't have to have all that technical stuff. If you just want a great pellet cooker that's easy to use, get the choice line. You can save a couple bucks. It comes in both the Jim Bowie and the Daniel Boone sizes. If you want to spend a couple extra bucks because you like technology, you want app control, you want ability to adjust those cookers, you want peek-in windows on the main cooking chamber and pellet hopper, internal meat probes, all that fun stuff, Prime Line is going to be one that you want to take a look. If you want to step it up even a notch more with actual headlights in the cooking chamber, Prime Plus. More robust builds on the Plus and on the Prime. But again, it's all up to you. If you're somebody that knows their way around a cooker and you just want something that's going to keep nice and even temperatures, I would say go with the choice line. Otherwise, make sure that you are up to speed on all the other stuff. They sell through dealers, right? So go to greenmountaingrills.com and check out where the nearest Green Mountain Grill dealer is to you. And then you can go see them in person. Ask all the questions you want there to the sales folks on the floor. They are trained to answer, and make sure you have success right out of the box. Pellet grills are hot. They will continue to be hot in 2021. And there's certainly no better option than Green Mountain Grills right now. GreenMountainGrills.com. That's GreenMountainGrills.com. We're back with the one and only Steven Reichlin. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
All right, welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by the BBQ Guru, makers of automatic temperature control devices, ceramic cookers, cabinet-style insulated cookers, accessories to make your barbecue and grilling life easier. Go to bbqguru.com. That's bbqguru.com. And check out what they have, continuing to be a breakthrough in barbecue technology. Central Ice, the third Tuesday of the month, means it's time to do a segment with an icon in the industry, a host of TV shows, creator of the very popular Project Fire TV show, author of Barbecue Bible, and a host of other barbecue books as well. We go to the hotline and welcome back regular guest Steven Reichlin. Hey, Steven, how are you?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
I am fine. Any way you can rotate that pad by chance?
I think if I do that, I go on my side. Hey, I apologize
Really?
here. I'm having problems with my computer.
Oh
It won't
dear.
charge, and so I'm obliged to talk to you on cell phone today.
Yes, no problem. So sounds good. And we are here with Stephen Reichland, of course. So we have a couple of different things to talk about here, Stephen. And the first thing that I wanted to lead with, as I am a regular visitor to your website, is a blog post on skirt steak. And I think we have enough years of knowing each other now, Stephen, where I'm not abashed to share with you my inequalities when it comes to having sampled meats and other various stuff here.
Uh-oh,
Now,
this isn't going to be another caviar conversation, is it?
no, absolutely not. I have had skirt steak 2 or 3 times, but I have to say, it's not normally on my radar. It's not normally something that as I go into the butcher or if I'm just in the meat case at the grocery store that I'm looking for. But then I see a post on your website, and immediately I'm re-inspired to say, hey, this is something maybe I should be looking more into. And so let's talk a little bit about skirt steak and where it comes from. I know there's this like inside skirt steak and outside skirt steak, and we can hash it out from there. But let's talk a little bit about skirt steak on the whole from the top.
Okay, basically, well, steaks come from 2 basic parts of the steer, right? You've got steaks from the top part of the steer, eating high off the hog, you'd say, if it were a pork. And that would be your rib steaks, your rib eyes, your filet mignon, your New York strips. And then you've got your belly steaks, which are thinner, much more fibrous, tougher intrinsically, but loaded with flavor. And your belly steaks include flank steak. They include skirt steak, which is one of my favorites. I think originally it was popular because it was cheap and flavorful. Today, it's not so cheap all the time. It was really popularized by Tex-Mex food, a dish called fajitas. Fajita means girdle, literally in Spanish, and that is the Mexican Spanish name for a skirt steak. You're talking about a piece of meat that's maybe a quarter to a half an inch thick. It's maybe 3 inches wide, and it can actually be quite long. It is well marbled, but characterized by these transverse fibers. So the key to cooking skirt steak: hot fire, quick cook. Don't take it more than medium rare, and most important, slice it very, very thinly across the grain so you shorten those meat fibers.
Is there a difference? I mean, obviously the words would tell you there's a difference. Or what is the difference between outside and inside skirt steak?
I've got to admit to you, you got me there. I'm not familiar with those terms.
When you're cooking skirt steak, though, so you give us the general idea, hot and fast cook, medium rare, tops, thinly sliced. Is there any other way to serve it? Could you eat it like, let's say, 12 inches to 36 inches, like pieces like you would get a steak, or just you want to cut it up?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay.
No, absolutely. When you go to the Argentinian, Uruguayan restaurants down here in Miami, that's how they serve it. Big plate bearing steak. Actually, the kids in our family just love it. It's it's affordable. It's kind of a funny trade-off with steaks. The most tender steak is the filet mignon, of course, but that's also the steak with the least flavor. You get to something like a skirt steak or a hanger steak, and they are loaded with flavor, but they're a little tougher, a little bit more fibrous.
Do you think that filet mignon is popular on menus because people tell you it's good, or do you think that the popularity of filet is solely due to the fact that it is so much more tender than most of the other cuts available?
Well, I would say, first of all, it's easy. We like things easy in America, and we like our steaks tender, and we like things like cuts. Phrases like that slices as though a knife, a hot knife through butter and stuff like that. I'm personally not a big filet mignon eater unless you marinate the hell out of it. When I do get filet mignon, I'll do like a Korean bulgogi marinade or something with a lot of flavor to beef up the flavor.
I have to tell you, I hate filet. I don't want to look down at anybody that says that that's their favorite cut, but I mean, there's easily 10 other cuts of steak that I would rather have before filet. And by the way, for, as easy as you say, unless if you want anything past medium rare, it does become quite an obstacle to cook, because typically if you're going anywhere that's decent, they could be 2 inches thick or 3 inches thick or 4 inches thick. And if you tell the waitress or waiter, if you're out at a restaurant, that you want a medium plus filet, there's just no way in hell that they're going to execute medium plus. They're going to do medium rare at best, and it's probably going to be medium rare minus more than medium rare plus. So I think that it is actually probably a more difficult piece of meat to cut than most of the other stuff.
To cook. Yeah, there is actually a way to do that. Not that anybody would want to do it medium plus, but you sear it on the top, the bottom, and the sides, and then you put it in the oven, or I guess on a grill you would indirect grill it, and you can take it to this as well done as you might wish for. That's not something I would do. By the way, I have a recipe in my book, Project Fire, that's about the best way I know to cook a filet mignon.
All right.
And first of all, it's dry brine. So you hit it with salt and you let it sit for a couple of hours. The salt pulls out some of the liquid, the juices that can reabsorb. And then I do what Adam Perry Lang calls a board sauce. So the hot filet goes on top of a mound of raw chopped garlic, chili, cilantro, scallions. You douse it with olive oil, and then you thinly slice the steak on top of all those ingredients. The heat of the steak partially cooks them. Slicing them chops the vegetables, the whole thing, mix up the steak juices, the olive oil. And that really is a pretty spectacular dish, even though it is filet mignon.
Stephen, I had mentioned at the top that you are the host of Barbecue University, and you have been doing that for has it been 14 years or maybe even longer?
It's actually
than
coming on our 20th year, believe it or not.
Wow, yeah, so quite a while. Yep. What is the status of Barbecue University this year?
Well, so we moved the school last year to a gorgeous resort called Montage Palmetto Bluff in Bluffton, South Carolina, deep in the heart of the South Carolina Lowcountry. COVID hit, of course. We did manage to get a class done with COVID safety last year, and we were uncertain where we were going to be there this year, but we just announced about a week ago that Barbecue University will take place. It's over Father's Day weekend. That is June 17th through 20th. We'll be putting the enrollment information up on my barbecuebible.com website in the next week or so. And I'm really excited about it. It's a very cool place. We have tried to incorporate, I always try and do sort of each region where I've done the school. I started it in West Virginia, so that kind of came with a certain set of flavors and traditional dishes. Then we were out in Colorado. We did kind of a more mountain cuisine. Now we're down on the Gulf Coast, so you can imagine that oysters, shrimp, fish will figure very prominently in this year's menu.
You going to be doing any classes on whole hog barbecue since you're going to be down there too?
Actually, I'm hoping to get the original whole hog guy over to be a guest lecturer for us.
Rodney Scott?
You bet.
Wow, yeah, that would be insane.
Now, Rodney, if you're listening, you don't know this yet because I haven't reached out to you, but that is my hope and plan.
There you go. That's the preemptive invitations as we are sending them out here on the Barbecue Central show. What is the history of the school? Like, how did this whole thing come to be? You had been on PBS for any number of years. That's where I first found you and fell in live fire love with you. But where does this Barbecue University idea come up? Is it something where somebody says, "Hey, Stephen, you should put on something," or do you pitch it around and see who takes it?
Well, first of all, got to make sure we have an adult audience listening to your show because there may be a controlled substance or two behind this story.
All right.
But after the Barbecue Bible came out, one night I sat down, and it was a night that may or may not have been substance enhanced, and I made a list of all the things I wanted to do with barbecue. And let's see, one of them was I wanted to do a TV show. I wanted to do more books. I wanted to create a website. I wanted to create a line of products. I wanted a foreign presence. I wanted to take my message, to some of the foreign countries where I speak the languages. And I also wanted to create a school called BBQ University. So I wrote that down on that list. I kept the list in my wallet like I always do when I want to accomplish something. And lo and behold, I had been a guest instructor at the Greenbrier at their cooking school in West Virginia. And then the opportunity, I had this idea, BBQ University. I proposed it. The Greenbrier liked it. And lo and behold, BBQ University was in business.
Now, it was there for quite a number of years. So did you
8 years,
sign did you sign like a 3, 4, or 5 year contract right off the bat, or was it always a year to year, let's see how it goes?
That's an interesting question. I don't actually remember, but I do remember that life 20 years ago was a lot less legalese and a lot more done by handshake than it is today. So I think it was probably just a handshake.
Stephen Reichland joining us here on the show. BarbecueBible.com is the website, of course. There is the Grilling Vegetables book that we are hoping to see this year at some point, potentially.
You're going to see it in May. I think the official pub date is May 1st or May 7th, something like that. But actually, tomorrow will be a day of celebration. The photos for the book went off to the color separator on Friday. The manuscript is going off to the printer. Probably the whole manuscript went off today. And I've just been reviewing the cover, and that will go, my corrections on that will go in tomorrow, and will be, the book will be at the printer this week, and thus out of my hands, which is a wonderful, wonderful stage to be at for a writer, because you think you write the book, you finish it, you hit send, that's it, but man, it comes back to you again and again and again and again, and once it goes to the printer, there's nothing else you have to do with it. So that feels real good.
I don't think there's any more prolific writer in the live fire industry than you are. Do you already have another book that's already been started, or at least conceptualized?
Well, I've got a couple of books on the back burner that I'm thinking about. Nothing under contract yet, but one is a possible novel involving the barbecue world. You may remember that a half dozen years ago I wrote a novel called Island Apart, now reissued with the original title, which is The Hermit of Chappaquiddick. And writing fiction was really fun for me, so I'm thinking that there will be another Reichland novel at some point.
So, is it conceptually around some kind of barbecue thing, but then there's a whole other crescendoing story or something along these lines, and it just happens to be like maybe a guy that cooks whole hogs for a living or something?
Ultimately, any novel that's sort of set in a milieu that's highly technical, like barbecue or like horse racing, or like 12-step programs. I'm thinking of all the whodunits. What really makes them interesting are the characters and the situations. And in a way, the world that you describe, in this case, if it were the world of competition barbecue, that would be spice, but it would not. The reason people will want to keep turning the pages is because of the characters.
Stephen, you're in the process of editing The Killer Barbecue?
Editing The Killer Barbecue.
Like Hold the Meat show for the Project Fire
right. Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, that particular show is called Killer Barbecue Hold the Meat. Right. It's our vegetarian show this year. I say that with trepidation to your audience, but yes, I am actually doing one meatless show in the series. And it's funny, this seems to be the month of final edits, but we taped the show in September. It comes back to me in what's called a rough cut, which is basically they have roughed out the time. They've, we have 4 cameras going at any given time, at least. Sometimes we have even more. So what they've done in the rough cut is they've said, okay, well, this sequence will be with the camera on the dolly, and this sequence will be the overhead boom shot. And they put it all together. I watch it, and then, we all watch it, and we figure out, well, this part is great. Gee, I sound really stupid here. Do you have another angle? Um, this is this section is not clear. How can we make it more clear? And it's really a chance to fine tune the show. So that's where we are. And then the next step will be I'll lay over the voiceover. So once we get it to time, then I come in and I drop in the voiceover. They drop in the music. So it's an interesting process.
No doubt. Is there a theme for next year's Project Fire?
Well, there is. Actually, we're talking about two themes, and maybe your viewers can sound in. So one is a salute to America, and we're thinking about doing a show on regional American barbecue, but sort of the lesser-known regions. Everybody knows Kansas City and Texas, and I'm looking for regions that you might not be familiar with. The other idea is a Stephen Reichlin's greatest hits show, where I will go through and pick out the best, my favorite recipes, the most iconic recipes I've done over the last 25 years, and build a show around that. Yeah. So I throw it out to you all. You can, do an informal poll. Let Greg know, or come on my website, barbecuebible.com, or my Facebook page, and tell me what you're thinking.
All right. You can go to barbecuebible.com. That's the website. You can follow Stephen on social media. It's Stephen Reichlin. He is the regular third Tuesday of the month guest. Stephen, really appreciate the time as always, and we will see you in March.
Absolutely, and I hope I'll be back on my regular computer by then. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Do a great job. Grill on, everybody.
All right, there he is, Stephen Reichlin, right there, showing up on the show the third Tuesday of every month. That's right. Dino Dan weighing in on what might be inspiring Stephen Reichlin. He says hippie lettuce. I thought of the same. I don't think he's going down Sam the Cooking Guy's area of expertise in history. I don't want to say that that's fact. I don't know. I would be willing to guess that Stephen and Sam didn't follow the same enhancement roads, if you will. By the way, I did see this coming across as well. It sounded like somebody might be lobbing a phone call in. That's the number. It's only been the number for the last 10 years. I say it any number of times through the show. 216-220-0966. Email is greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. All right, let's go ahead and make room for Robert Moss. I'll talk to you quickly first, though, about Primo Grills, the website Primo Grill, singular, primogrill.com. Here's the difference between all the other ceramics and a Primo. Primo's oval. That's right, the shape is way different. So your eggs and your Kamado Joes and all the other ones, they're round, of course. And while you might think you have the ability to do a true two-zone cook, not really, not with round. But you can with oval, because it's oval. You push all the lit coals on one side, you put your divider in, and now you have a completely void space with no coals on it. That's your second zone. So you can cook directly over the coals, or you can put the meat over the no coals area. You have true two-zone cooking right there on the Primo. A number of sizes to choose from in the oval section. You have the extra large. You also have an extra large Jack Daniel's edition. You have a large, and you have a junior. Now, if you can't get out of your own way, or you seem not to care that much about two-zone cooking, but you want to have a Primo instead of anything else, good news. Primo also makes round ceramic cookers if you have to have a round one. They also have an extra large gas ceramic cooker. So if you're looking for something to really get the neighbors talking, you can say, oh, well, I have a ceramic gas grill. And watch their heads explode. Primogrill.com is the website. Once again, that's primogrill.com. And we will be right back with first-time guest Robert Moss right here on the show. You're listening and watching the Barbecue Central Show. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
Hey, this portion being brought to you by cookinpellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all of your pellet-driven cookers. You can visit cookinpellets.com. That's COOKIN, cookinpellets.com for more information or to purchase or to see what other products they have. You can also visit Amazon.com to purchase as well. We tried to line up CB for the second hour, and he said, there's too much snow in Wisconsin. I can't do it. Plowing and blowing and whatever the hell else you do to remove snow out there in Wisconsin. Hey, my second guest tonight in the first hour is one of the premier authorities when it comes to writing about Southern food and drink. His most recent book is Barbecue, The History of an American Institution. A revised and expanded edition was released at the end of 2020. So if you like reading books, you might want to go grab a copy and see what's changed since the first version of this book, which came out about 10 years ago. Here to talk about a number of live fire topics is contributing barbecue editor for Southern Living magazine and first timer here to the show. We race to the hotline and welcome in Robert Moss. Hey, Robert.
Hey, Greg. How you doing?
I'm fine and appreciate you making time for the show. Glad
sure
to meet
thing.
you virtually here,
Yep.
and I've been meaning to get you on the show for some time now, and, like all my best laid plans, I mean to do that, and then 50 other things come up, and eventually it bubbles up, and here we are. So before we get into some of the barbecue topics that we wanted to banter back and forth about, maybe just a quick background about yourself, where you grew up, and where you're headquartered at right now.
Yeah, well, I'm a South Carolinian, so I grew up in Greenville, South Carolina, in the western part of the state, but I'm now in Charleston, down in the eastern part of the state. I've been down here since 2002, so almost 2 decades now, but definitely a Carolinian through and through.
I assume barbecue, being a Carolinian through and through, has always been something you have been around or at least been taking part in some form or fashion?
Yeah, absolutely. I vaguely recall as a really small kid going to what you might call a pig picking. I don't know if we called them that back then, but where there was a whole hog laid out. But I don't remember that it being barbecue being a huge part of growing up in South Carolina. Yeah, I was in suburban Greenville mostly. And so it's usually, the occasional barbecue or stop by a restaurant, something like that. So it really wasn't until, and that was at a period, this was in the 80s and 90s when barbecue was pretty low and sinking on the American restaurant scene before its sort of remarkable revival. So it really wasn't until I was probably, college age that I really started getting into barbecue in a big way, in the sense of first, eating at restaurants and then starting to cook stuff in the backyard.
Did you think that maybe barbecue was just going to go away? I mean, it's been around for hundreds of years, steeped traditions, going all the way back to the slave days, obviously. But did you think it was going to go away?
Well, when I discovered it, not I was the first one to discover when I first started becoming acquainted with it, when I was in college, people didn't make a big deal about it. It was really low on the radar screen. It was just sort of this food that was off on the side, on the side. And so I don't know if people even realized that it was fading out, and you didn't realize that you were about to lose it. So it felt like at the time, this is when, as a teenager, I was eating Burger King and McDonald's and fast food and all that kind of stuff. It sort of felt like I was discovering this sort of hidden secret, because it really was not well known at that time. It really wasn't until around 2000 that you started to get the rise of competitions, you started getting the rise of food television, and people started writing about barbecue that really started coming back. So it was almost like I never thought about it enough to think whether it might disappear or not. It was something you sort of just, this weird food you always sort of took for granted, I think.
Have you always been a writer?
Well, I got a PhD in English, of all things, which is a strange way to get into writing about barbecue. But
you're going to be a teacher?
I didn't know what I was going to do. I ended up then, taking that and going into the software industry is so a logical course of events. But I've always been a writer, sort of, as a hobby and stuff. And it became more and more of a, something I did on the side as I was working in the software industry, and then became a bigger and bigger part of my my day. And so, not always a food writer, but I always was interested in writing in one form or another since I was, probably a teenager.
So I probably misspoke. Dr. Robert Moss joining us here on the show. RobertFMoss.com is the website if you want to check it out here while we're talking. You have revised the book that I had mentioned in the open because you said that so much has changed over the past 10 years. I'm going to ask you a pointed question here in a second. But let me ask you this before we get to those pointed questions. Okay. I refer, let's say, probably right around 10 years ago, we were in the midst of what I would call the golden age of barbecue. And what I mean by that is it was everywhere on television. Pitmasters was well into its wheelhouse at that point. It had already been seen in 2 or 3 different versions on various high-numbered cable HLN, Outdoor Life, things that nobody ever went to unless you were a hunter. And I don't even know if anybody hunts. But you were seeing competition barbecue in its rudimentary forms. It was a Chris Lilly and John Marcus brainchild getting onto television. But then it really seemed to catch hold with Pitmasters and its varying forms over a 10 or 11 season run. And that brought in a huge interest into the competition scene. Perhaps that brought even more attention to the restaurant scene and really showcasing those meccas of barbecue, the Carolinas, Texas, Kansas City, and Memphis. Was that like the best time of barbecue 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 15 years ago?
I don't know. In the book, the original book, which came out in 2010, I called the 1950s and sort of like 1950s, early 60s, the golden age of barbecue. Because that is when, if you think of all the classic barbecue restaurants that you think of today, a few of them go back before before World War II, but most of them were founded in the 50s and 60s. That's sort of when barbecue dominated the restaurant scene. This is before the rise of McDonald's and everything else. And those restaurants, everybody's cooking on wood. It was sort of what we think of today as classic barbecue. So that was definitely a high point. But that period you're talking about is right when the book came out. And barbecue was coming back from obscurity. The low point was somewhere in the 80s, where it almost disappeared as a restaurant food, at least. But competitions were coming along. Barbecue Pitmasters and other shows really brought a whole new load of people who weren't interested into it. But I'm not sure if that was actually the high point or not. If you recall, in around 2009, I guess 2010 is when Aaron Franklin sort of hit it big. And coincided with the rise of social media and blogs and, the internet making things move fast. But that was really like when craft barbecue was getting started. So you sort of had the competitions heating up. You had craft barbecue coming along. But when I wrote the first edition of the book, I sort of ended it on this sort of like ambivalent note, because barbecue was coming back, but it was still this sort of different kind of fusion. In particular, things like whole hog barbecue cooked over wood, that was disappearing. Even in 2010, 2011, there you could count on on 2 hands the number of whole hog joints that were left in the United States. And then what happened remarkably in the last 10 years, really in the last 5 years or so, is we've seen a remarkable resurgence of not just the Texas central Texas style brisket, but revival of whole hog, revival interest in things like hash, and revival of wood cooked, traditional wood cooked barbecue. So I don't know if I'd say 10 years ago was the golden age. I think we're still in it. I think it's still getting bigger and better with each passing year.
So within those 10 years of first book release until now, in your estimation, what are the 2 or 3 biggest changes that we've had over the decade?
Well, I think the two big things. One is, when I first wrote the book, very few people had written about the history of barbecue, and what was written was mostly, it was short and is mostly focused on early restaurants, like restaurants in the early 20th century, but no one really had written much about barbecue back before 1900. And what's happened since I wrote the book, and I wasn't the only one, but it's sort of at the same time, a lot of other people were getting interested in it. We've had just a lot more people write, dig into the history. And so we just know a lot more about the history. Of course, the history hadn't changed. We've just uncovered a lot more about it. So that was one reason to do a new edition, is I really was able to go back and flesh out the story a lot more and add in a lot more details. So I think that's one big thing. But the other one is really, the book came out, I sent it to the press about the same time as Aaron Franklin was opening up his trailer there on the side of the interstate in Austin. And so we really have seen just this remarkable revival of what you might call craft barbecue or serious, new neo-traditionalist barbecue in the last 10 years. And it's really changed the landscape a lot. It's hard going back and writing that new chapter that I added about, which covers basically the last 10 years. A lot happened I had forgotten about in the space of really just 10 years. So I think those are sort of the two big things that have really changed a lot in the last 10 years.
Do you think if Aaron Franklin wouldn't have come on the scene, that we wouldn't have had the scene that we have been having? Wow, that sounded really good.
Yeah, that's like one of those big historical, questions. I don't believe in the great man theory of history per se, in the sense that if Aaron Franklin hadn't come along, somebody else would have. There was so much else that was sort of a ferment, and other things were happening. He just sort of happened to be in the right place at the right time, and had the right look and everything, and sort of I think struck a chord. But I think I think America was ready for that kind of sort of old school, traditional, sort of very focused type of revival. And it sort of happened at the same time that all of a sudden we had the internet, we had social media, and ways that these things can just spin virally. And what's really amazing about how, if you look back at how Franklin blew up, he blew up so quickly in less than a year, really a matter of months. And it happened because Daniel Fawn went down there back when he was right. I think he was still right before his Texas Monthly. I still think he was still writing his blog, and other bloggers and other people. You didn't have to wait for a magazine to run; it hit the internet right away, and people were, I think it was a little bit before Twitter, but people were emailing it and sending it around, and it blew up very, very quickly.
If it wouldn't have been Aaron Franklin, do you have any guesses on who the face would have been? Would it have been Tootsie at some point, or would it have been, the guy at Kreutz? Who knows? Yeah,
probably not Tootsie, because I don't think people would have gone out and discovered Snows if they hadn't first sort of gotten really interested in it. It could well have been the Lockhart places may have done it. I think Sam Jones, from Skylight Inn, yeah, he's a good candidate, because the difference between someone like a Tootsie and Aaron Franklin is obviously that their ages are different. One's younger, sort of hipper. I think Sam Jones is very different than Aaron Franklin, but he has that same kind of charisma and appeal. Of course, if you read his book and if you talk to him, when he first sort of got into it, he wasn't, he was very shy. Wasn't sort of made for TV, if you will. But I think someone like that, and Rodney Scott's another good example, I think someone like that would have, stepped up and emerged as sort of the face of the new barbecue revolution, if you will.
Where do you see the next 2 to 3 years of barbecue? Is it going to be a lot of the same, or is it going to be even more growth across all sections?
Yeah, it's so hard to say for sure. Obviously the pandemic has thrown a wrench in everything. But barbecue is actually, compared to other restaurant genres, obviously the barbecue guys were struggling like anybody else, but they've actually done well. And you have a lot of people sort of moving into barbecue as sort of a more takeout friendly format. I don't know for sure, but I think you're seeing the rise of a lot of new barbecue places, new barbecue hotbeds, if you will. I think Los Angeles is really interesting, what's going on out there. I think you may see some really cool stuff emerge out of Los Angeles in the next couple of years. All these pit masters there sort of went to Texas and sort of cribbed the brisket technique, but now they're going back and they're really digging into their own heritages. They're starting to sort of integrate barbecue with all the other flavors and background that's in Los Angeles. And so there's a really interesting scene happening out there. So we'll see, but I think that we're going to see a lot more barbecue operations open up. I think you're going to see a lot more interesting large format outdoor kind of venues and things like that. And so I think it will continue to grow, at least for the next couple of years.
Robert Moss joining us here on the show. RobertFMoss.com is the website. One last question before I let you go tonight, and I appreciate the time, Robert. You're in Charleston. What is the best barbecue in Charleston? I think a lot of people immediately want to say something that rhymes with Rodney Scott, but as somebody who was there who is not Rodney Scott, what is your opinion?
Well, I think I lived through the rise of Charleston barbecue. When I first moved down here in 2002, I always will point to the Bessinger family. So that's Melvin's and Bessinger's, which is sort of the original Midland style South Carolina barbecue. So your mustard sauce and your hash and rice. And so if you come to Charleston, it's like you can't just go to one. You have to sort of do a tour of all these places. So that's, if you start there, you sort of get the old school stuff. If you go to Rodney Scott's place on King Street, which opened in the last 3 or 4 years, that is a different South Carolina style. That's the PD style of South Carolina barbecue, which is the whole hog vinegar sauce barbecue. And then you've got to check out Swig and Swine, Home Team Barbecue, and then Lewis Barbecue, which are sort of the three of the sort of newer players on the scene. Lewis, of course, coming from Austin, so you can get really good brisket and a lot more here from him. The Home Team guys are interesting because they're a bunch of fine dining chefs who went into barbecue and sort of created a whole this whole interesting fusion of barbecue with traditional chefy stuff. And then Swig and Swine is just a really interesting barbecue place as well. Guy who used to be a cook on a submarine, came through the fine dining scene here in Charleston, but now cooks whole hog and all kinds of other things here in Charleston. So if you go get those, you're going to get a really interesting cross section of South Carolina styles and styles from all over the place.
You have any love for Two Smoking Buttheads?
Not sure who the Two Smoking Buttheads.
Oh my God! The guy told me he was like the best barbecue restaurant in South Carolina. That people, you don't know Two Smoking Buttheads? They're a competition team, but then they also have a restaurant.
Yeah. Which part of South Carolina are they in?
South.
Yeah,
part,
one of the Carolinas. Yeah, it's not around me, but yeah.
Yeah, nice.
I'll have to check it out though. They've got a good name on them.
I'll have to send you the pitmaster's name, and then I don't know how big. I'm like every other American. I have no idea of geography other than where I live in Ohio. So it could be 8 hours away from me. I don't even know if South Carolina is 8 hours long. Probably not. But maybe it's just too long. So I'll send you that. You can do reconnaissance. We can have you back on, and you can see if you want to add it to the list at that point. In the meantime, you can check out Dr. Robert Moss at robertfmoss.com, and you can also sign up for that newsletter. What's the newsletter that you're writing?
It's called the Q Sheet. It's a weekly barbecue newsletter. Comes out every Sunday.
All right. So sign up for the Q Sheet as well. Again, robertfmoss.com is the website. Robert, really appreciate you coming on tonight and letting us get to know you and talking about a few barbecue topics, and look forward to doing it again soon.
Sure thing. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
You got it. There he is, Robert Moss. Yeah. robertfmoss.com, and sign up for the Q Sheet if you want a weekly newsletter. Do it right there. Yeah, baby. See, everybody wants to go Rodney Scott. Now, look, I don't think I was hoodwinked, run amok, bamboozled by the guy from Two Smoking Buttheads. What's his name, by the way? I can't remember it right off the top of my head. He was a great interview. But he said he had some really good South Carolina barbecue, maybe some of the best. So we'll get that over to Robert. You can check it out. We thank him for coming on. Great first time ever. Let me talk to you quickly about Kosmo's Q as we get ready to wrap the first hour. Based out of Oklahoma, Kosmo's Q has been providing both backyard and competition cooks world champion level rub sauces, injection soaks, and brines. And their exclusive wing dust is currently available on the market this day. That's right. Best of all, every one of their products is made right here in the States with all natural ingredients. Kosmo's Q continuing to break new ground in rubs, seasonings, sauces, and injections. And the results are not only proven on the competition trail year after year, but also proven in backyards as well. More and more backyard warriors are looking to take the barbecue to the next level, and there is no better or easier way to do that than by picking world championship quality rubs, sauces, injections, and marinades. And that's exactly what Kosmo's Q brings to your table. Not only is the barbecue game covered, but there's a whole line of products to help amp up the grill game as well. By the way, Kosmo's knows a little something about doing that grill thing. By the way, he's a world champion steak cook, if you didn't know that. Now, I know I've done a great job already trying to convince you at giving Kosmo's a shot. If you haven't already, maybe you're a big customer. But if you need one more thing to push you over the edge, let me give you a promo code. It'll save 10% off your entire order each and every time you visit the website. By the way, that's KOSMOSQ, the letter Q.com. You can use promo code BBQ Central at checkout, get 10% off the entire order. Snowed in, like most of us are today, no problem. You can use that checkout code right now and stock up on everything you need when barbecue season rolls around. If you're able to cook outside all year round, or you're just macho and like to cook outside in the cold, you can use it to stock up on everything you want. Once again, that code is BBQ Central, 10% off at checkout. While you're on the website, be sure to check out their very popular recipe blog. And did you know they have quite the extensive YouTube channel as well? If you aren't subscribed to that, head on over to YouTube, ring the bell, subscribe, and be alerted to their new content. See why Kosmos just wins. The website Kosmos Q, that's Kosmos with a K, Q, the letter Q.com. BBQ Central for 10% off. All right, we're back to wrap the first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The BBQ Central Show. Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
This segment brought to you by Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive, and Fireboard 2 Pro. Yeah. I mean,
Fireboard 2 Pro.
Monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously, connect to Wi-Fi. Can't believe I just did that. For cloud-based monitoring, or connect via Bluetooth. If you have Alexa or the Google Assistant, you're in luck because Fireboard 2, 2 Drive, and 2 Pro. Fully integrated with both. Find out more by visiting fireboard.com or call 816-945-2232. 816-945-2232. That's Fireboard 2, Fireboard 2 Drive,
and Fireboard 2 Pro. Get it today.
That's what machismo sounds like. Has anybody ordered the Fireboard 2 Pro, the thermocouples? That can stand heat up to 1,200 degrees at probe. I believe John Solberg told me at wire it's 864 degrees or something like that. Anybody have the Pro? I want to know. I'll have you on the show. You can do a review. How about that? Greg of Gozer. That's right.
Are you a god?
Ray, the next time somebody asks you if you're a god, you say yes! Anybody name that movie? I will not give you a free prize.
Andrew,
I will not give you a free prize. All right, we thank Robert Moss for joining us last segment. RobertFMoss.com. Dr. Robert F. Moss. RobertFMoss.com is the website. Sign up for the Q Sheet, and you can get your weekly updates, not to be confused with something called the Smoke Sheet, which is put out by Sean and Ryan, Sean Ludwig and Ryan Cooper. Sign up for both and see, like, what matches up, what's different, maybe different takes, all that stuff. We'll see. Go ahead and refresh your libations as we get ready for the second hour. Don't forget Kevin Coleman will be joining us to talk about many Weber things as well as barbecue stuff in general. Your phone calls and emails are welcome as well. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The BBQ Central Show.
This is Jim Minion from Two Loose Screws. I'm listening to Barbecue Central.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
Boing.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle.
Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude!
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 2 feet or wiener.
So listen, Lavernius, shut your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show, your live fire, fun, and frivolity show coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, where we do it live every Tuesday from 9 to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, also being recorded at the very same time for your podcast pleasure after the fact. Don't forget, you can follow me socially at BBQ Central Show on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Snapchat. For video feeds, you can go to /BBQ Central Show on both Facebook and Twitter, /RD Rempe on YouTube. Your 3 different video feeds, if that's enough for you. Still to come on this show this evening, Weber's Grill Master and Pit Master and live fire expert, Kevin Coleman. Kevin Coleman will be joining us. I'm going to get emails like, why did you say that twice? Once in the first. If I get that, I will explain it next week. How about that? Coming up this Friday on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, episode 164, taking you back to March 2nd, 2010. Steve Foreman was a guest of mine, and we talked with the Cow in Sao to Wow barbecue restaurant and catering business owner. That's right. Steve is located in Topeka, Kansas, but on March 2nd, 2010, Topeka, Kansas was trying to get Google Fiber run to the city, so they actually legally changed the name from Topeka, Kansas to Google, Kansas back then for some specified amount of time. So if you go back and listen to that best of, or if you really go back and listen to the whole show and wonder why we keep referencing Google, Kansas, or, oh, I heard you mention Google, Kansas and got on the maps. There's no Google, Kansas. I know. It was a ploy to get Google Fiber. I would call Google, Ohio in place of Cleveland if we could get fiber, but we can never get fiber here ever. It's never going to happen. Steve was actually a former radio DJ and also did everything else in between that radio world. And due to the restructuring of terrestrial radio back then, found himself out of a job and he had to make a new career for himself. So he bet on Steve and ended up winning. Great story. So you'll enjoy listening to that, both in the best of, and then when you click on the full show link that's in the show notes and listen to the whole segment, it'll be great. Also, let me remind you that if you want John to put a show together for you, email him, John, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com. All right, so I told you I would give you my take on the Mo Cason interview at the top of the first hour. I'm sure many of you are bated breath at this point, waiting for me to do it. But guess what? I am not.
Andrew, you are not the father.
I am not going to give you my take. Of course, I'm just kidding. I will give you my take. As I said in the first hour, I will go ahead and do this at this point in the show, so let's get going. First and foremost, I'm not going to harp on the ice chewing. Many people pointed it out. I'm going to chalk it up to Mo being in a comfortable setting and really just having a conversation. I don't recall the last guest that enjoyed ice as much as Mo did during the interview. I'll give him that. But there are plenty of folks and guests through the years that rattle a glass of ice or rattle a glass in general or breathe hard into the mic or have a dog bark or kids run into the room or cars pass in the distance or a storm that's happening on their back porch. The list literally goes on. Honestly, until I listened back to it, I didn't even really notice that it was happening during the interview last Tuesday. But to be forthright, I was actively listening to what Mo was saying so I could ask the right follow-up questions. But yes, I heard it after the fact, and I know most of you heard it as it was going on. I talked to Sean Walchef hours ago and asked him, what's the one thing that you noticed? Because I thought Sean didn't even notice that there was ice chewing going on. So not everybody noticed. Most of you did and were happy to weigh in with me on that. And as I mentioned before, reaction to the segment ran 50-50. So if you already liked Mo going into the show last Tuesday, nothing that he did and nothing that he said turned you against him during those segments. Likewise, if you weren't a fan of Mo going into last Tuesday, he didn't do or say anything that now made you a fan of his. So, in repetition, you liked Mo, you still like Mo. You didn't like Mo, you still don't like Mo. Smokin' Joe's Barbecue Pit still likes Mo. Now, Mo has a pretty healthy dose of self-confidence, undeniable. If you didn't know him prior to Tuesday, then maybe you thought he came off a bit arrogant. I'm not personally a fan of telling people how nice of a guy I am or how humble I am. Maybe you can get away with it once right up front in the interview, but I wouldn't be going back to that well personally for a second or third time, but that's just me. To me, that's something that people who talk about you should be saying. They should be extolling your virtues. I don't want to tell people that, but again, totally up to him. The one thing I don't agree with Mo doing, and this is my opinion solely, and as he said, he can have his opinions, we can all have our opinions. That's just the thing, right? As a culture, we can have our own opinions and nothing has to change. We can just have our own opinions. But in my opinion, I think I wasn't a huge fan of Mo taking specific shots at other barbecue restaurants. Look, Cleveland isn't a barbecue hotbed. Des Moines is not a barbecue hotbed either. On many occasions, I have said on this show that Cleveland's barbecue scene, on the whole, sucks. But I'm not naming names of the sucky barbecue joints. I don't feel there is any reason to do that, but that's just me. And I think that's where the main issue lies with many of you guys. If Mo says the Des Moines barbecue scene blows from a high level, he skates. If he doesn't name anybody, or he doesn't call out Jethro's or Smokey D's, he skates. Or if he calls them out and says, that's good barbecue, or I also eat there, he skates. Nothing happens. Now, the heat gets turned up a notch because he's also talking about opening a barbecue restaurant in Des Moines. So, to me, why take shots up front before you're even open? But as he said, it's his opinion. We're all entitled to those. The folks who had an issue with Mo calling out specific places perhaps are incorrectly placing what they would do in that situation. That's fine and dandy, but no one asked you. They asked Mo. He answered in a way that you wouldn't. You don't like it, so you hammer him. But you shouldn't. It's just not how you would have done it if you were put in the same situation. He answered the way he did. That was right for him. Now, as far as the restaurant stuff, I think that there's a difference in what he's doing and the other names that he brought up during the conversation in which he thought were doing it the right way. For instance, John Lewis, Ron Killen, Aaron Franklin. Those folks, this is where the difference to me lies. Those folks are the owners of the business, or they have a financial stake in that business that bears their names. If it fails, they go out of business. They have a vested interest in making sure that those businesses succeed, not only for them, but for their employees as well. Honestly, that's not the case for Mo, right? That's not the case for him. If that restaurant gets off the ground and fails after 3 months, it affects Mo zero. No money investment, no stake in the business, no skin financially in the game. The only thing he would stand to lose is whatever monthly percentage he negotiated with the owners and investors of the restaurant. That's it. He would continue on as normal otherwise. By the way, a lot of people with names do that kind of deal. Some of them are right here on this show each and every month. And if I was going to get into the restaurant business, that is the only way I would get into the restaurant business. I will devise the recipes. I will teach the methods. I'll go over the holding processes and serving procedures. And then peace. Make sure my agreed upon percentage of the gross each month gets deposited into my business checking account, and we're good. Sign me up for that. But I don't want to open my own barbecue restaurant with my own money if I don't have to. I would rather do that deal. So here's two of the takes that I got in various forms that I wanted to address. The first one sounded like this in various forms. How can Mo get hooked up with a restaurant? He's a terrible competition cook. I've won more than he has, and I always finish ahead of him when we're at competition. Hey, that's great. Who cares, though? Winning in competitions doesn't mean that you're going to be successful in the restaurant business. Also, not winning in competitions doesn't mean that you don't know how to cook good food. Competitions and restaurants are not tied together. They are indeed independent. Mo has never claimed to be the best competition cook. But a lot of you are quick to point out what he hasn't won anything of note, and somehow that should turn and dictate his success going outside of the competition circuit. And that's just not a good take. There's no reason that you can tie one to the other and assume if he's not winning anything of note on the competition scene, then if he gets into the restaurant business, he's going to fail. You can't tie those together. Here's the worst take of the week. And I'm sad to say I got more than a few of these. Ready for this one? The only reason Mo is getting opportunities is because he's black. Bottom line, that is the worst take ever. You don't like his attitude. You don't like the fact that he was eating ice on my show. You don't like the fact that he doesn't have a lot of great, notable competition circuit wins. The list goes on. Fine. Don't like him for that. But don't bring that weak-ass Mo is black bullshit to my show. I'm not here for that. I'm not going to subscribe to that. You don't think Mo knows he's black? Trust me. He knows every day of the week that he's black. You don't think that he feels the pressure of that bullshit every day? You know what you don't know? You don't know what it's like to be black every day. So don't give me this weak-ass argument of why he gets opportunities and you don't get jack. I'll tell you why you don't get opportunities. Because you can't sell a TV show. You can't sell a cooking class. You can't generate interest or buzz when your name is mentioned in public. In other words, for as big of a deal as you think you are, you're nobody. You're like me. You're a nobody. I've met Mo in person. Nice guy. Mo has it. This might be a newsflash for some of you, so hang on tight. The majority of the best competition barbecuers in the country are not that great when it comes to personality or charm or charisma or machismo or just flat being interesting. They're not. Mo is, and that's why TV shows will cast him and radio shows will have him on as a guest. His cooking classes will fill up, and he will be able to sell products. He creates buzz, he can market, and he will continue to win. And you will be a bitter bitch who plays the race card instead of trying to outwork him. How about that? How about working harder and becoming better? Can you do that? Also, work less on being a bigot. Myself and the world thank you in advance for that. I will continue to welcome your reaction to the Mo Cason interview from last Tuesday. The email, greg@thebbqcentralshow.com. Kevin Coleman is in the green room and ready to go. Before we get to that, I will talk to you quickly about Pits and Spits. Since 1983, they have been handcrafting smokers and grills in Houston, Texas. In that time, establishing itself as one of the premier brands in quality offsets and more recently pellet cookers. Pits and Spits has made a name for itself as a high-quality maker using heavy 7 and 10 gauge steel in every cooker. Fully welded construction that you can feel when you use the unit. 304 stainless roll-top lids and front shelves on every single smoker. Why does it matter? Well, by using high-quality materials, you can reach and maintain temperatures more quickly, allowing you to worry more about the meat than the heat. By providing a fully welded smoker, you don't have to worry about grease and smoke leaking out of the barrel or that grill rattling apart as you move it through the backyard. Now, where some companies focus on being a low-cost provider, Pits and Spits focusing on craftsmanship and quality materials. Are there cheaper ways to manufacture? Sure. But Pits and Spits not liking tack welds or cheap stainless or electronics that you can't trust. Having in-house manufacturing gives them complete control of the design and standards. That's not something you're going to find in a product that's brought in from overseas. Their steel suppliers supply materials to be used in some of the harshest environments around, so you know they're going to perform in all conditions. And their controllers are made right here in the States. They have unimpeded transparency into the program. Pits and Spits has a dealer network across the country, but if there isn't one close to you, feel free to give them a call to shop. Tell Coy I sent you, 844-650-6250. Whether you're a backyard grill master or a competition team, Pits and Spits is a product for you. You can check them out on their website, all spelled out, pitsandspits.com. Or you can see their pits in the wild across social media with their handle, Pits and Spits. Weber's Grill Master is up next. Are you ready? Let's go. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet. Currently available in 2 sizes with a host of accessories. Whether you're a beginner or a professional or somewhere in between, definitely a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. Visit pitbarrelcooker.com and tell them I sent you. Yes, my next guest, or first guest in the second hour, has shown up on this show over the years talking about Weber stuff and barbecue items in general. We hit the hotline and welcome back Weber's Grill Master, Kevin Coleman, to the show. Hey, Kevin.
Greg, how we doing?
We are doing fine. Appreciate you making time for the show this evening, and we have a lot to talk about here. So first things first, about a year ago-ish, March 3rd was the last time you were on, actually. You were addressing, or we were, I was asking you a lot of questions and issues that folks were having with the then newly released Weber Smoke Fire. And we are right around, we're, a good number of weeks outside of that year launch or whatever it is at this point. So, from a high level, and let's ask it from 2 different ways, from a Kevin Coleman standpoint, and then from what you hear from top men and women there in the Weber ecosystem. What's the evaluation a year out?
Number one, first evaluation, Smoke Fire was fantastic. Number 2, if you've ever been to Smoky D's, Darren and Sherry do a crazy good time. I've been there twice. We went one trip. I was judging the chili, the world champions of chili. We went to Darren's place twice, and if you don't think they bring flavor and you don't think they bring a good punch to their food, you're out of your mind. One of the things we actually took back, we were inspired by, he does a chicken fried steak with a gravy that we actually did for a board dinner because we were that inspired by what Darren does at his restaurant. So I appreciate opinions, but I like facts too. So let's clear that one up. Smoky D's, very good place. 2, Smoke Fire, one of the, if not the most talked about grills in the last 15 years. And
talked about in the best way possible, or just talked about?
I mean, when you change the game like we did back in 1985 with our Weber Genesis, putting flavorizer bar systems in there, people used to spray the lava rocks with water and there'd be flare-ups and crazy stuff like that. Our smoke fire is different. We allow the same type of cooking system that you would see in a charcoal grill and a gas grill. We've incorporated that into a pellet grill. People haven't seen that model before. They haven't seen the way it cooks. They haven't seen the caramelization and the searing. And so a lot of people were taken back by that. And I love that, because when you get a product that produces like it has, now all you see and all you hear is great things about that grill and what it's doing. So personally, I love it. Professionally, I mean, that's one of the things I cook on more than anything else.
What about from a corporate standpoint? Do the folks in the corner offices think that Smokefire was a win on all accounts then?
I think the corner offices, the people at Weber, love the product. They love the fact that we were able to come out with a pellet grill that has changed the game. We love the fact that we came out with a grill that you can go high heat, searing, caramelization, 600 degrees. You can go low and slow, 225, 250, 275. You can control it from your phone. And we were able to do that in such an amazing way. And when you look at the way that that grill responds in all types of weather, you look at how successful our pellets have been with that, the accessories for it. I mean, that grill has been a game changer. And like I said, there hasn't been a grill talked about probably more in the last 10 or 15 years than the Smokefire. And you know what? It produces results like no other pellet grill on the market. And I've cooked on almost every single one of them. So again, personally, professionally, I love that grill because I spent probably 2 years cooking on it before it even hit the marketplace. And I love how it responds. I love how it cooks. And it's one of those things that I don't care what background you have, you need to have one of those in there.
The items that I were seeing as far as hot issues was the feeding of the pellets. There maybe was an insert that was sent out. There also had seemed to be some issue with augers. I don't have one. I generally go through the Facebook post just to kind of see what's going on. I will admit, and I did kind of throw out the idea that the only good thing that came out of the coronavirus was the fact that all of a sudden it seemed like the coronavirus hit and everybody stopped talking about the smoke fire issues that they were having. But like, let's talk real here for a second. What were the issues that ended up coming out, and how were they addressed, and how are revisions being manufactured at this point? Because there's a number of people right here in the instant chat that are saying, oh, I'm waiting to hear what Kevin says before I pull the trigger, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, what's really happening?
I mean, the thing I love about Weber, and I've been with Weber almost 20 some years. I mean, Jim Stephen was one of the people, his father started the business that created a position for me. And I love the fact that we listen to consumers. We constantly engage with them. We want their feedback. And this has been the evolution of not just the smoke fire, it's been the kettle, it's been our gas grills. And it's one of those things that when we looked at the smoke fire and you're seeing some things going here, people are using it this way, this is what was going on. The thing I love about Weber, we're so in tune with our consumer base and we're so focused on consumers that we listen so much that we try to evolve as quickly as they are when it comes to cooking, right? And so when you see, could it be an auger? Could it be the chute? Could it be this? Could it be that? We are constantly 24 hours a day trying to look at how do we better products for people. And because we have such an amazing base that we can start moving faster. And that's what we were doing with Smokefire, just like with the Weber Connect, the technology on there is that continues to evolve. It continues to chase greatness when it comes to barbecue. And so if it's the Connect, if it's the Wi-Fi stuff, if it's the parts in the grill, if it's whatever it is, we are always going to constantly listen to consumers. We're going to constantly look at our products and try to create better things. And so that's what we've been able to do. And we've done that with our flavorizer bar systems. We've done that from our cooking grades back when we used to have stainless steel and just porcelain, not porcelain enamel, but porcelain. And we found that if we can porcelain coat those, like you'd see on our Q and all our gas grills now, that people don't have to cure those. And so as fast as we can evolve grilling and as fast as we can make better products for people, we're going to do that. We're going to constantly try to learn from them. And so we were able to do that through social media, through our customer service, through the normal channels. And that's what I've loved about Weber is we constantly want to listen and want to engage our consumers and make better products. And we've been able to do that. And that's important to us.
So if you're buying one today, is there anything that looks or feels different than a year ago?
You're not going to see anything on the outside looking anything different. We've upgraded the auger system. We've upgraded the chute. and that's going to help people. And for the most part, what you're going to find is the Weber Connect technology has evolved very quickly, and that's what's made people's lives easier when it comes to cooking, because it controls your grill. It allows you to, I mean, basically, it'll tell you when to put a steak on, when to flip it, when to take it off. It will tell you pork shoulders. It will tell you briskets. We give you guided grilling. So people that are beginners can really jump into the grilling game so much faster. And people that are advanced, we just give you the technology so you can now use that to better and make your lives easier. And so that's what I've loved about that grill is Genesis, our Weber Smoky Mountain cookers, our Summit Kamados, those don't have the technology. So that's a lot of hands-on learning. What we've been able to do is take myself, grill masters from around the world, take all that great knowledge, put it into that Weber Connect, and so it gets you up to speed faster and cook better barbecue. And I think you've even alluded to it where more people are cooking outside. They want to ease your track. They want to be able to create great barbecue. And that's what we've been able to do with bringing technology into it with the Weber Connect powered by the June OS. And so, fortunately, we've made a grill that people can cook better food on, and that's important to us.
All right, you're throwing a lot of things out here that I want to unpack here. I think we can put the smoke fire to bed at the moment, but let's go ahead and touch on something else. You mentioned Summit Kamado, and so there has been some kind of, I don't know if you call it a refresh or rebrand or whatever. This was the Summit Charcoal Grill that was originally introduced. Is it going on like 2 years now? I mean, this was, a game changer of sorts because it was dual walled. It was much bigger. It had a whole different, it had a Weber essence and aesthetic to it, but it was way different than your normal kettle that you would have in your backyard. And it was originally, I remember having you on the show and you're saying, hey, Greg, this is not a Kamado cooker. This is not being brought to market to be a Kamado killer or a big green egg killer or anything like that. And we were talking about what made it different and unique and why it wasn't a Kamado cooker. And now we have Kamado in the name. So what happened?
I think what's happened is we came out with it as a Summit Charcoal, and I think people looked at it like, is this a grill? Is it a Kamado? Since so many people in the marketplace they think Kamado, they think the ceramic style cooking. And so what we looked at is listening to consumers again. And this is something that I love about Weber is we constantly want to listen and want to learn and how to evolve our products and how to market them better. And people were like, well, at the end of the day, it's a Kamado, and that's how they actually understood it. And so we rebranded it as a Kamado. And when you look at it, you said it the best, Greg, like I'm sitting here right now and I'm sitting with a double walled tumbler right now, right? And so when you look at the technology, you put a cup of coffee in a ceramic mug, it's going to stay warm for probably 10 minutes. You put it in a Yeti tumbler, it's going to stay cool for 45. And so that's the same technology that you're going to see built inside that Summit Kamado, where what I appreciate is when you have a grill that I can go up to 600 degrees and I can drop down to 225 to 250 in a matter of 30 to 45 minutes, it gives me complete heat control. You don't get that when you get to some of the other cookers, and that's what I love about the Summit Kamado is it has the capacity. And I've got pictures back in 2015, 16 when I had mine, and I got snow, about 2 inches of snow on the lid of my grill, and it says 225 degrees, and that's how well insulated that grill is. And so no matter right now, we've had minus 19 degree temperatures here in Chicago, and we've got a boatload of cold weather. That grill holds heat. It lessens the amount of charcoal you use, and I absolutely love using that product just as much as my smoke fire. But that, for us to rebrand it to come out with the Summit Kamado, it makes more sense in the marketplace because that's how people view those grills, and that's going to be a win for consumers, and it's a win for Weber.
So, do you guys think that you were potentially losing sales having it as a Weber Summit Charcoal Grill instead of having the name Kamado in it? You think you're going to be gaining more till hits?
I don't think we were losing sales so much as we're bringing more awareness to the product and to the category. And that's, I think, something that we always want to try to focus on is how do we make our products more translatable to consumers? And so that's one of the ways that we can do that. And we do that with changing the name. We can do that with bringing more accessories. We can do that by bringing better features to a grill, bringing technology onto a grill. So we evolve the product, not just in terms of how we market it, but also the technology and features and benefits that we put on grills.
Kevin Coleman joining me here on the show. WeberGrill.com is the website, of course. So if you're just new to grilling and barbecue and you've never heard of Weber, go over to the website and familiarize yourself with everything. Otherwise, just see what's happening over there. Let's go ahead and transition now into the latest news. As I was talking with Meathead last week, I had mentioned to him that it seemed January and February brought successive press releases from Weber, which I don't remember the last time we had 2 months in succession of press releases from you guys. So the first one in January was the mention of the purchase of June, which is that Weber Connect technology, brought it in-house. So I would assume it's functioning, or if I read it right, it was functioning still independently, but it's it's in the garage of Weber at this point. And then earlier, or last week, it was announced that these gas grills are now going to have this Weber Connect technology, and this is going to be Genesis EX315, 335, and the SX335, and then the Spirit line, the SX315. So I ask you to give us the Kevin Coleman pitch on Weber connected gas grills. We're already accustomed to some kind of connected pellet cooker, right? Green Mountain Grills has it, Traeger has it, Pit Boss has it. You name a pellet cooker, anybody who's anybody in the game right now, Weber has some kind of connected pellet cooker. But I think I've only seen a couple smart gas grills, and they were like in the stratosphere price. I think it was like Lynx or somebody like that had one a number of years ago at an HPBA expo. So what is Weber Connect on gas grills?
Well, we've been so fortunate to partner and now have June part of the Weber family, that when you look at getting into a technology company and being able to impart that technology into our grills, we have found and we have seen that more people want technology. They want to be able to monitor grills. They want grilling to be easier, and that's what technology does. And when you familiarize yourself with June, that has been an integral part of Smokefire, which I think has been part of the success of how well people are cooking on that grill. And that's going to translate into Genesis and into Spirit. And so the fun part is you get from the beginner's guide to people just getting into grilling, and we're finding more and more people being at home, more and more people cooking. Well, let's try to get them smarter grills. Let's get them so when they have that steak that they buy from their butcher or from their grocery store, we tell you how to probe something. We tell you when to put it on. We tell you when to flip it. We tell you when to take it off. And so we teach you how to grill. And more importantly, if you're really a good griller, then that technology is more important, because we give you such a precise reading on things that all you need to do is just click the app, open it up, flip, turn, take it off, and you're ready to go. And so that's where technology makes your life so much easier when you're going to be grilling. And for us, it was a no-brainer because we saw how successful it was with Smokefire. Now we're just translating that into our gas grills. And so that's what's going to make grilling more accessible to people. It's going to make it easier to people. And for the most part, it's going to allow them to cook in their backyard. I mean, both of my daughters, they're 6 and 8, Maddie and Kinsey, they love to cook with me, but they also have the Weber Connect app on their iPads. So it's kind of like dad being next to them, but dad's not next to them, because then they can cook by themselves and they can monitor it and tell me what to do, which is really fun. And so that's the other advantage of technology, is it really brings the family together. And you know what, from a Weber standpoint, we've been in the backyard for 60 years. We've had the most important conversations that families have had, and our girls have listened to those. And to be able to continue to do that for people and bring people together in the backyard and bring them closer together is important for us. And that Weber Connect is going to do that, not just in terms of cooking great food, but being connected with everybody.
So the press release says, not to be redundant in your explanation, but the Genesis and Spirit Smart give you synchronous grilling results. So through a digital display on the grill, outdoor cooks can tap into Weber's Connect technology. Precision, accuracy, easy to use, visual dash. So is there like a screen on the grill itself?
So the cool thing is you're going to find a screen on the side table that's going to directly look at it. It's got 2 probes, so you can probe your meat with it. It's got an ambient probe that's wired in that goes to the grill that actually will tell you the temperature of the grill. And so you're able to monitor the grill, monitor your food, and it's all going to be through your phone. And so instead of having to sit next to the grill, which at sometimes you want to get away from your family, you want to use that as the excuse, you can do that, but you can still monitor it from your phone. But the great part about it is it monitors it all for you. So it tells you when to flip, tells you when to take stuff off. Even if you're doing a brisket or ribs or shoulder, it will tell you when to wrap, when to check for doneness, how long it should rest. And so that's all the cool things that, I mean, between myself and my team, we've cooked over 900 different things, thicknesses, brisket, shoulder, anything you could think about, we've taken the data from and we've incorporated it into Weber Connect so that way people can mimic the same results and have great barbecue, and that's the important thing for us.
You also have what they call grilling inspiration, so I would assume that there's some type of ongoing catalog that's being uploaded and or added to for recipes and food ideas?
So we're constantly looking at ways that we can make food better for people. So we're going to continually, and that's what you have to love about technology, is it allows us to add more to the app. It allows us more inspiration that we can put in front of people. So we can design recipes. We can design more cook programs. The thing I love about the Weber Connect is it allows us as a company to pursue grilling perfection faster than we've ever been able to do before. And that's exactly what you want for people that cook on your products. You want them to find that perfect barbecue. And so for us to be able to get the data back, to be able to have data that people can use, we're evolving this process faster for them, and we're creating better barbecue for them, which the pursuit of excellence when it comes to barbecue is quicker and faster for us as a company. And that's exactly where we want to be.
The other thing that I wanted to ask you about, and I guess it's more on the how. For as long as I've had gas grills, and by the way, there are a lot of people out there who have no problem taking a Cleveland steamer all over gas grills for some reason, but it ain't me, pal. I mean, I am gas grill through and through. I love it. I use it 3 or 4 times a week, ongoing. Doesn't matter if it's 19 degrees above, below, or 79, whatever. It doesn't matter. I love gas grills. But there always is a propane level potential issue, which is why I always have an extra one at the ready, just in case I run out mid-cook. It says you can monitor the fuel level right through this Weber connectivity. How the hell does it do that?
So we have a tank scale that's monitored through the Weber Connect app, and so it's able to check how much fuel you have in your tank. It'll basically tell you when you're getting close, and you'll see it. It's time to have a new tank ready or time to order a new tank, which is important. And that's all the pain points that when you look at from a consumer standpoint, it could be the pellets too. Like when you look at the smoke fire, it has a signal in there that when you're getting low, it'll tell you, it'll give you an error that's going to say, well, not an error, it's going to give you a message. It's going to say, hey, you've got a low fuel, you need to add more. And so that's where when you look at people on cooking, we need to help them through those pain points so you don't end up like me, headed down the Soldier Field cooking for a Bears game, and all of a sudden you forget that the tank that you had was only a 2-pound and you need a 20-pound, so you got to pull off and go to a Walgreens right off of Wabash to get more fuel for your grill. And so that's part of the cool stuff that we do for consumers is take those pain points away and make it easier for them. So there's LED lights, there's electronic ignition, there's the Weber Connect, there's the tank scale. And so all these cool things we incorporated in to make people's lives easier when it comes to grilling. And we know that more and more people are out in their backyards cooking. And so we have to be able to provide them better products to do that and have an easier time so they can continue to make those amazing memories in their backyard. And you know what? That's important to us, and it's important to people that use our products.
All of the pellet cookers that have this kind of technology are units that you have to plug in. How is this powered?
So it's we got a couple ways. So it's powered by 6D batteries, or you can actually plug that in to a wall via, I can't remember off the top of my head the connection, but it's powered very similar to the way you would plug an iPhone into your wall, and that powers up the grill, and so you're ready to go. So not a huge amount of power running off of it, but the D batteries give you about 26 to 30 hours of cook time on that grill, which is substantial, or you can plug it in and that'll give you some power too.
Now let's play I'm the old man on the lawn story here for a second, because Meathead did quite a good job of arguing for the continuance of technology. And look, I think we can all agree. I'm the least likely to rail against technology. If you could see behind me and what's in front of me and how I do the show and how savvy I am a firm believer.
You are pretty savvy.
I am pretty savvy.
Big background.
That's right. I'm in New York City, private jets, the whole thing. However, like Meathead said, gas grilling is tough and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, is it? Like, can't you cook on your gas grill, whatever gas grill it is, 8 times or 10 times and pay attention 8 times or 10 times and learn your cooker? When I got into barbecue, people said, hey, take the time, whatever cooker you have, learn your cooker, and that way you can know how hot it's running and where it's hot and where it's cool, and you can flip this and flip that and the temperatures. And I firmly believe in using thermometers at any and all points, sole for safety versus all that pushing bullshit and whatnot. But in this instance, are we creating a group of people that we're passing off this, hey, this is technology, this is great, we're ramping up your learning curve thing, but we're really fostering a bunch of dolts who are only going to be reliant on something that tells them what you're literally breaking it down to. Hey, stupid, flip the steak over now. Oh, take it off the thing now. I mean, we're breaking it down to the most simple things. So am I stuck in my old school ways, or is this really a track that you as a company need to be on because it's not backpedaling from this point?
I think it's a combination of both. And you guys talked about it earlier in the segment when you look at Texas barbecue. And some of my biggest mentors are from Texas. I've spent time with Aaron. I've spent time with Wayne Mueller at the Cathedral of Barbecue. I've spent time with John Brotherton at Brotherton's Black Iron. Russell Regals in Houston, who's an amazing cook. I've spent time with Ronnie at Camp Brisket down in College Station. I've spent time at Style Switch and Valentina's. Spent time with Robert Lerma, who does a great job of bringing all of these people together. And that's the passing of the torch. Not everybody, I've spent time with Tuffy and Chris and Mo, like all these guys I've been fortunate to learn from. And that's part of the passing of the torch. Not everybody has that luxury. Meathead, I mean, he's close to me. He's a close friend of mine. Dave Raymond, Sweet Baby Ray, Deuce Raymond. I mean, I've been able to spend time with a lot of great legends.
You're dropping all the names you can possibly drop here. I mean, look at you. Go ahead.
But these are all close friends of mine, but not everybody gets the luxury to work with them. I mean, even Dr. Phil Bass out of Idaho State, Dr. Sable down at Texas A&M, you've got Dr. Zerby out of Ohio State. Like these are meat scientists that we've been able to work through too. Not everybody gets that opportunity. So for Weber, we can take all that beautiful knowledge, the great things that people pass to us, and give back to consumers so we can help them cook better. Are you going to be a Chris Lilly tomorrow? Absolutely not. But if we can make you feel like you're a world champion, like a Tuffy Stone or somebody else, because the barbecue looks good and your family loves it, then why not try to help you, right? Like, it's hard because you can go online and Harry Sue, I call him the barbecue Yoda. He's my Yoda. Like, you cook for 3 hours, you get 1 hour of viewing pleasure on YouTube. Like, that's how you should run your life, but not everybody's like that. But if we as a company can help take that knowledge and expertise and put that in the program so people cook better, Greg, I mean, it's only going to make your show more popular, right? The more people that are cooking, the more people that are listening. And that's where, for us as a company, we want more people cooking, making memories in their backyards, making sure that we have that sanctuary that we call a backyard, the most inclusive, the most important place that we can cook food for our family and friends. And you know what, as long as we're doing that as a business, we're good. We're always going to be good because that's an important thing for us.
Kevin Coleman joining me here on the show. Kevin, can I hold you over for just a few more minutes while I do a little piece of business here? We can talk about something hypothetically, and then we can talk about something new that might be coming out this year.
Sure thing.
All right, stand by. We're talking with Kevin Coleman from Weber. I'll talk to you quickly about Big Papa Smokers, the one-stop online shop for all things barbecue, a curated selection of only the best outdoor cooking and grilling supplies. Get you on the path to better barbecue results in no time. Big Papa Smokers, known for the championship rubs and seasonings. Popular flavors like Sweet Money, Cattle Prod, Cash Cow, all proven winners on the competition circuit and in the backyard. 13 overall perfectly balanced flavors that will transform ordinary meals into extraordinary. You can also check out their sauce that they own, Granny's Barbecue Sauce. If you're looking for a new go-to or you're tired of what's on the market, you want something different, Granny's traditional yet powerful flavor will remind you of why you fell in love with barbecue in the first place. And aside from the premium selection of rubs and sauces, they're also selling the best cookers out there on the market today. Are you looking for a versatile smoker that's easy to use? Sure you are. Check out the Mac 2-Star General Pellet Cooker. It's got a new, refreshed version. Big Papa's is the exclusive Mac dealer, even offering special packages. Not a fan of pellet smokers? All right, try the old Hickory Ace BP. It's the only charcoal smoker that Big Papa trusts on his competition trailer. If you're not sure of what grill you need, you really can't go wrong with any of the cookers that Big Papa sells on the website. They have something for every kind of backyard cook and budget. Give them a call with questions, 877-828-0727. That's 877-828-0727, or shop their website at bigpapasmokers.com. That's BIGPOPPA smokers.com. We're back with more Kevin Coleman. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the #1 most downloaded barbecue and grilling podcast anywhere. The Barbecue Central Show. Celebrating over 10 years of prolific and unparalleled live fire barbecue and grilling talk. And yes, it's still being done from Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
And this portion brought to you by Smithfield. Head on over to Smokin', S-M-O-K-I-N, SmokingWithSmithfield.com, and sign up for the Committed Cooks program. There were 30 spots left last week, so maybe that's evaporated over the course of the last 7 days, but you should go over there and try nonetheless. You can also get tips and tricks from the aforementioned Chris Lilly and Darren Worth, Ernest Cervantes, and Giles Cridlin at Smithfield.com. And we're rejoined by Weber's Grill Master, Kevin Coleman. All right, Kevin, so we're talking about the Weber Connect and all of the things that it's going to help from a technological standpoint. So let's hypothetically talk about this gas grill that when is it going to hit the market? The thermostatically controlled gas grill. I know that you have something akin to that in the house called an oven, and I don't know why, for whatever reason, we have not seen a thermostatically controlled gas grill to this point in 2020 with all the other technology that's available to us at this point. So what is the deal with that? How come there hasn't been one out there, and is there one on the horizon?
I think what you're seeing is the evolution of people cooking outside and people cooking. I mean, technology just is advancing so extremely quickly, right? When you see how Apple has evolved so quickly, smart ovens have evolved so quickly. I mean, you look at June, and I can put food, like the cool thing about the June technology, you get a June oven. My daughters can take food out of the freezer, put it in the June oven. It tells them what it is, and they can just hit a button and it actually cooks it for themselves, and they don't have to do much. And so when you look at technology, it helps us evolve and it helps us cook faster. It cooks better. And so the more that we can incorporate that into what we're doing, the easier it's going to be for people to have barbecue accessible to them. And that's going to be important. And so do I see things like that coming sooner than later? Yes, because you're starting to see much, much more technology put into grills. And that's the great thing about Weber is we're constantly looking at how consumers use our products. We're constantly listening to them. And the more that we can listen to them, the more we can make barbecuing more easily accessible and also easier for them to do, the faster we're going to be able to evolve as a business. And we've been able to do that with our grills so far. And we're going to hopefully be able to do that for another 60, 70, 80 plus years.
So what's keeping a thermostatically controlled grill out of the market? Is it that difficult to figure out?
I don't think it's that difficult. I think it's just figuring out how to make that specific model, because you have so many layers of technology built into all that stuff, right? And so you saw cars before didn't have a lot of technology. Now you start seeing more and more. It tells you when to get an oil change, tells you how long you can get on a tank of gas. It basically can almost self-drive itself. And so you're seeing the same type of stuff with grilling, just like what we're doing with, you have guided grilling where you put a steak on, it tells you when to put it on, when to flip it, when to take it off, how long it's to rest. And so I think eventually you're going to start seeing more and more into that. I just think we have to, as a barbecue world, evolve quicker and faster. And you're starting to see that with more technology built into things. And so do I see that on the horizon? Yes, I see that. Is it going to make grilling more accessible to people? Yes. More importantly, we have to be able to make products and use that technology so they can actually benefit from that, as opposed to just having technology to have technology.
But it's not new technology. I mean, thermostatically controlled anything has been around for 100 years or something like that. I mean, this isn't like we're changing, like we're not making these self-driving cars like you're talking about, where we haven't had that technology and we're literally on the cutting edge every day. I mean, this is something that's just been around and it just hasn't found its way to the. I think if you get a thermostat. By the way, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I'll just throw it out there. I think if you get a
but you use
thermostat,
big words. You're sounding really smart right now,
thank
Greg.
you.
So I appreciate it.
I think if you throw a thermostatically controlled grill out there, and you have your Weber technology or connectivity, for just to use Weber for instance, that kills that kills everybody else. You cornered the market. Now you can go out and say, okay, turn that grill to 350 degrees and do this, and then magically this burner turns on and magically this one shuts off. I don't have no idea how that shit works, but then you can get out there and literally tell people you're cooking on a grill, but it's really acting like a stove, and it's technology that's already out there. Is it just that hard to incorporate into a grill?
Well, I think there's a lot of dynamics when you talk about technology being incorporated into grilling, because you have heat, you have meat, right? And that's the changing thing. Is gasoline is pretty much the same, car engines are pretty much the same. When you look at meat, it's an animal, and that animal is not the same every 2 years or 6 months or 9 months when it's harvested. So that continues to evolve. And when you look at the weather outside, I mean, you're in Cleveland, I'm in Chicago, the weather constantly changes, that changes things. And so there's a lot of variables that go into cooking, and that when you're inside in an oven, I mean, it's perfect because you have really no variables, right? I mean, basically it's just putting your food in, the temperatures aren't swinging because you don't have winds, you don't have cold, you don't have gusts, you don't have rain, you don't have anything else going on. And so all that stuff has to be built. And I think that's what you're starting to see more of being done. And I think when you can eventually get to a point where you can provide people a product that they're going to be able to use, and it's going to be able to provide them that constant ease of use like you would have inside of your oven, you're going to see more of that build. It's not a new technology by any means, but you also don't want to put out a product that you give people like, well, this is how it's supposed to work, and it doesn't live up to that expectation, right? And so that's part of, I think, the give and the take is making sure you've got a great product that people can use in their backyards, that the technology works, and that they're able to create amazing food. And it's not even a thought process of, oh, I forgot that this is even outside, right?
Kevin Coleman joining me here on the show. WeberGrills.com is the website, of course, and you can follow Kevin on social media. Anything new coming out this year, Kevin?
Well, you've talked about it. We've got the Spirit and the Genesis coming out. We've got a brand new portable grill, our Weber Traveler, which fortunately enough for myself and my team, Dustin Green, Jason Pruitt, we were able to go down to Daytona and cook for Jimmy Johnson, 7-time world champion, one of the great. And I've been working with a lot of fortunate people. I know I'm just throwing them out, but when you get to live a great barbecue life like I've been able to do, you throw stories out, and to be able to cook for Jimmy and his team 36 straight hours, powered by our Weber Smoke Fire. I mean, we powered that team. We fueled them through barbecue. It was amazing to be able to cook for Jimmy, cook for Chase Elliott, cook for Chip Ganassi, cook for Jim. I mean, it was amazing to be able to do that at Daytona, which is one of the meccas of racing, and be part of that conversation was awesome. So the Weber Traveler we're coming out with, I mean, if you go to Weber.com, you can find awesome things. Like we've got this awesome Yeti mug that we came out with. We've got some, I mean, you talked about it earlier, I get custom gear, but we've got a nice, beautiful Weber zip up that's coming out soon, aprons and a bunch of cool things. So every, like, let's say 2 to 3 months, we got new stuff coming out, which is awesome. So, we're trying to keep up, and we're trying to have fun and engage our consumers and just create this awesome vibe about just cooking on one of the best grills that you're going to find out there. And, as long as we're doing that and enjoying life, we're all going to be good, I think.
All right. This is Kevin Coleman. He is Weber's Grill Master, WeberGrills.com, the website, of course. Weber is probably on most of our backyards, if not all of our backyards. So I appreciate you taking the extended time tonight, Kevin, as always, answering all the questions. And we wish you continued success. And until the next time, my friend.
Greg, thank you so much for all that you do to barbecue. Thank you for everything that you do to support what we do as a culture. It's not an easy job sometimes, but you make it look so good, probably because you look so good. But we appreciate it. Even though you're from Cleveland, enjoy your time. Thank you again for having us on, and we look forward to being back on.
All right, sounds good. There he is, Kevin Coleman from Weber. 216-220-0966. Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com. If you want to weigh in on that, I'm happy to have it. Dan weighing in. Batteries don't work so well at -8 degrees. -8? That's a damn hot storm going on where you're at. -8. Interesting talk about thermostatically controlled grills, of course. I do have it on good authority that there is a grill manufacturer, China-based manufacturer, but headquartered out of Toronto, I believe, that might be bringing a thermostatically controlled grill to the market, but I am not talking any more about that until we have them on the show. Potentially in the next couple weeks or so. I think you come out with that thermostatically controlled gas grill, you're going to win the live fire industry for quite some time. Everybody will be chasing you on that. And I'm excited to see how the connected gas grills work. By the way, am I getting a Weber connected gas grill? Is that happening? I forgot to ask him about that. Last year I was going to be getting a smoke fire. That didn't happen. And that's fine. I have plenty of pellet cookers. However, I don't mind a connected gas grill. Kevin, if you're listening still, hit me up. All right, we're back to wrap the show. Stick around, and we'll be right back.
Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Greg Rempe.
All right, this portion brought to you by Vortic Watches. Vortic Watch Company, a small batch custom watch manufacturing and vintage restoration company located in northern Colorado. They take unique American pocket watches, just like this one right here, or there. Yeah, there you go. Okay. And turn them into unique wristwatches. Their mission, wow, that is not coming into focus, is it? How about that? All right. That worked. Their mission, preserve and enhance the legacy of manufacturing excellence in America. In order to do that, they combine traditional and cutting-edge technology to create unique, quality, functional timepieces with exceptional value. Here's the coolest part. Each watch that Vortic makes is unique, one of a kind. Vortic founded on the motto that America wasn't assembled, it was built. Check out vorticwatches.com for more information, by the way. If you follow them like me, and they're selling one a week right now. I think they said by the end of March, they're hoping to ramp up production and have one a day. But the one that they had for sale today, and that goes for sale at 2 p.m. Eastern, 12 Mountain. Most of us are on the Eastern time zone, I think, or at least that's how I operate. So if you want to get one, they sell out rapidly, like minutes. They've done quite a marketing situation there. The timepiece they had today was absolutely exceptional, exquisite, beautiful. The list of adjectives goes on. It was sold in 5 minutes. And it was a homage and throwback and honor to 1 year ago, they won their lawsuit against Hamilton Watch Company, which is owned by the Swatch Group, which owns 16 of the biggest watch brands in the world. And they persevered and won their lawsuit. They were almost cut out at the knees right in the beginning. And they were able to persevere, and they were ruled in favor of. So Vortic was able to continue on. Pretty awesome. So make sure that if you're in the market for that kind of a watch, that you sign up for the newsletter and that you just show up around 2 p.m. Eastern or 12 Mountain as those watches go on. If it's something that you like and it's available, don't wait for even 1 second. Purchase immediately, because in minutes it will be gone. There's no doubt about it. All right, let's go ahead and make tracks out of here. All the way back in the first hour, we talked with Steven Reichlin from Barbecue Bible. Then we talked with first-time guest Dr. Robert Moss. RobertFMoss.com is his website. First-timer. And then in the second hour, we had extended conversation with Weber's Grill Master, Kevin Coleman. Talking about Smokefire, talking about the rebrand of the Weber Summit Kamado, and the new connected gas grills on the Genesis and Summit line, and hypothesizing about the potential of thermostatically controlled gas grills. They have a new Weber Traveler coming out, a portable grill. Big show planned for you next week. It is the fourth Tuesday, so we have a visit from Derek Riches coming up. We also have the embedded correspondence segment coming up, amongst other items, so stay tuned for that. September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American. What? Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.